a big leak. This is awesome. So we're going to call this meeting to order of Jefferson School District 14J on October 11th at 6:30. So we're first going to do the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody here. Welcome all the audience that's here, all the staff members that are here via Zoom. And any parents from the community, I'd like to welcome you also. So we're going to do roll call, and I know that Kay Jones and Melissa are not present today, and they made they notified me and let me know they weren't going to be here. So doing another. So Fred, I'm present. Tracy, here. Myself, Terry Cumlin here also. So we have a quorum. So we're gonna do is review and adjust and approve the agenda, consent items.
Terry, Melissa.
Yeah, that's going to be taken off.
Okay. All right.
Next one. Okay. Okay, before you approve, Tracy, I just want to say one thing. So I'd like to add on new business B about whether or not to continue the Zoom meetings as a board. And we'll discuss that a little bit. Yeah. And old business local control resolution, we're going to table that till November meeting. And that's the resolution that Melissa was working on. And she asked if we would table that. So with that, is there anything else? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve as amended the agenda and consent items.
I will second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda and the consent items. All in favor? So Fred?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Okay, spotlight on education. Are we going to have Rick do that via Zoom?
So Rick is not able to make it tonight, but Melissa is going to speak on his behalf and present. So we are going to have her present from. Or
coming into my office. So one moment. All right, you want to switch places? Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, is this the spotlight on education?
It is.
All right, do we have, I'm not sure, are you showing slides there or do you just want me to speak?
I am showing the slides.
All right, and so oh, okay, so this is the opening slide. I have a really hard time seeing that, so I'll try to follow along. So good evening, I'm Melissa Groninger, principal here at Jefferson High School, and we wanted to highlight our agriculture program as this month's Spotlight on Education. It's one of our highly valuable career and technical education programs here, and they have done some incredible work starting out the school year. And so we wanted to share some pictures of some schoolwork in the class, but then also some trips that they're taking outside of school and taking advantage of some of the opportunities in the Willamette Valley. And so the next slide. And this is just an outline or just an explanation of some of the work that they've done. And I'll go through this quickly. They always say pictures speak 1,000 words, and it's so much better to get to the pictures versus the words. So Mr. Martin and his agriculture class, they're off to a very strong start this school year with a unit on soils. I learned the difference between dirt and soil this month. I made the mistake of saying the word dirt, which was not the right thing to say, but the students, they launched the project with a tie-dye activity using soil to tie-dye t-shirts. And it was an incredible opportunity to go out and watch them in action. They wore these shirts on October 5th to an event. It was a soil judging event on a farm out in Silverton. And there were 4 pits that they got to visit at the event. The first pit that they where they went down into, the teacher led them through the process of testing the soil. And in that process, they had to determine the amount of sand, silt, or clay in the soil. And they had to determine the different horizons of the soil. That was new learning for me, the word horizon. And part of this process, they create a soil ribbon in their hands and to determine the horizon of the soil. And it is a competition. And at that competition, they had 10 schools that participated in the event, and Jefferson. Job. So Amber is sharing with you some of the pictures of the tie-dye process that they went through. And we went out and took some pictures. And next year, I promise you, we will be creating our own soil tie-dye shirts. And we would love to invite the board out as well if you want to come out and make a tie-dye shirt. Picture in the classroom prior to going out to the competition, they tested soil in the class and they had samples that they used to compare their soil with the like the amount of loam or clay or silt in the soil. So they used these samples in the classroom. There's another picture. And then I think this picture, they're pictures of the soil judging event themselves, and you can see the pits and students standing in the pits and the ladder. It was quite impressive to me just how deep they are. And students go down in there, and it's an all-day event. And so they worked very, very hard to prepare for it, and they participated very well. And we just wanted to give a shout out to the board and a shout out to Superintendent Capener for giving students an opportunity to get out into the community, out into nature and participate. These events allow students to get a certificate of completion in agriculture at the end of high school. And then it also does impact funding for our CTE programs. The more students who participate and the more participation that we have. So thank you very much for allowing us to get out and about, for working with us to make sure we had safety measures in place, and then just for giving students an opportunity to shine out in the community and take number 4 out of 10 in our soil judging event in Silverton.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you very much.
Chair Kamlade, when this came up, I just wanted to share with the board when this kind of activity comes to forward, and it's an opportunity for our kids to get out, and you know, we get really excited about these kinds of things because it's taking relevant, it's making education relevant, it's making it applicable. They're taking what they're learning and then going out and being in the soil and actually taking the soil and doing something with it. And I think that's just says so much for learning and for CTE, and we want to do more of these things. So anyway, we're really excited with this. I just want to share it.
I don't know if I mentioned this before, but back in '73, I was on the FFA soil judging contest, and we won Marion County. And then we had the opportunity to go to the state, which was in Tillamook, and we got 3rd place there, and we ended up going to national in Oklahoma City. I don't remember if we got 3rd, but we were in the top 3. So we had the opportunity to go to Oklahoma City to do a soil judging, national soil judging contest over there. And there was 5 or 6 of us on the team, and we drove all the way back there. We raised money, drove all the way back there in a rent-a-car with Lee Clampy, who was our FFA advisor and a teacher here in Jefferson. And I think back there we placed like 23rd or something like that. But it was amazing. It's really a great learning opportunity to do that. And yeah, that's fun. So I understand exactly what they're doing. And Melissa, tell Rick, good job, and thank you for sharing that with us.
I have one comment. Melissa, this class is a very, very, very important classroom from the standpoint of my profession and localized farmers, the importance of our students understanding soil and how it relates to growing, how it relates to stabilization, how it relates to percolation, things of that sort, is an essential component to environmental protection. One of the key things that I was playing on when I was looking at some of those cylinders that contain different soil values is being able to read the soil. And it'd be nice for you guys to convey this to the kids, but there is a huge career opportunity within Oregon and surrounding states when it comes to the Department of Environmental Quality and placing septic systems in the ground for proper containment of sewage that could damage the environment. And so understanding and being able to read those soils and the properties therein, you know, there's definite career paths there for kids if they have that type of interest. Not just with septic systems, of course, but in construction as well as farming, as you well know. So I'm a big supporter of this program and what it does for our students. And if you would pass that on to those students that have participated in that, tell them that I'm really glad to see that they participated in that.
We can absolutely do that. Thank you very much.
I have something as well. I just want to dovetail on what Mr. Rose said there. He said everything I was thinking. He said it in a very, very clear manner there. And I agree 100% with everything that he just said. So just ditto to that, I guess. And you have my full support on this type of program. It's much as the superintendent was saying, this is like something they can take into the real world. I think that's very, very important. And I want to be one of the first ones to sign up for the soil dye t-shirt. And then
We will invite you. We would love to.
If I could, even before that, if I could get a chance to come out, I didn't even know we had this type. I'm new here. I didn't know we had this type of program. And I'm passionate about this kind of stuff. So if Brad's okay with it there, I'd like to get out there and visit with your class and see what you guys got going on out there. I think it's great.
Just reach out. We would love to host you out here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Rick Martin does just a tremendous job with that group, and they have so many different things. They have tractor driving, contests. The FFA does. They have parliamentary procedures. FFA is a really, really good organization. The Future Farmers of America.
Yeah.
And it's a great. He does a great job.
Pre-Brad, I was asked to, Mr. Martin came up to me 6-7 years ago, and I think it was 2 years in a row. Is what I did, but out where the middle school is, out behind the new middle school, I actually came here 2 different times and dug a trench 5 feet wide, 4 foot deep, and about 80 feet long for the soil judging for the kids to practice, number one. But then the following year, the event was actually held here where a bunch of schools literally came to Jefferson for the soil judging contest. And it was nice to be able to contribute to the educational experience for not only our kids but all of them
In the district, right?
Yeah.
And so, thank you. Financial statement and bills. Hattie.
Yes, thank you. Are there any questions on the financial statements? Yes, sir. What page?
Not on the statements. I just want to start this off with a bang and say, are the books balanced and reconciled?
Yes, every month,
Good,
every month.
good, good. Wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask at least one.
No, I appreciate that. And I want to just give Fred an idea of why we have these questions. On page 13, we have these questions.
Yep.
And these are example questions that our auditor gave us, and they'd really like to hear our board ask the business manager a couple of these questions a month at the board meeting, so you guys can get a little bit more information than what I just present with the numbers. So that's what page 13 is all about. And usually we try to supply it in every board packet so you have it. And if you have other questions that go along these lines, feel free to ask.
I will, thank you.
So is there any questions on the financial statement? Our big tax month, one of our big tax months is next month. So for our property taxes, that should be hitting the bank next month. So you'll see an increase in revenue. But everything is just when it's planned.
It looked good to me, Hattie.
Awesome.
Obviously, I'm still keeping an eye on the energy expenditures.
No, I appreciate it. Every bit of it. More eyes on these, the better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just takes instead of month by month by month, it takes a tracking time, referencing back and so on and so forth.
Right.
But still, since we have done what we have done through the bond measure and maintenance, I can see where the energy dollar consumption has gone down, significantly in certain areas, and I'm grateful for that.
And now we have a reference because we've had our building 2 years now. So, yeah. If there's no more questions.
Any more questions for Hattie?
On page 13, is, I know that we hired Compass Project Solutions. Is this the same meeting or did we hire them again?
No, on page 13 is the questions.
Sorry, the approval of bills report, page 13.
Okay,
Oh,
sorry.
page 39, I'm sorry.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
we read. Well, this was probably an ongoing bill. Maybe we had 2 bills coming in for Compass because of the request that we wanted to look at as far as looking into the HVAC system at the high school. And this is probably one that didn't get paid with the previous month.
Okay, do we have any updates on that? Is that, I think that we discussed during the last meeting, that was a grant?
It is a grant. It's the ESSER 3 grant, federal grant that where the category of supporting students and schools through COVID and what that looks like would allow for improvements in the air system, because that directly relates to safety. And so our HVAC system there needs a lot of work. I think the challenge for us is in really looking at that, we're not sure that we have the funding, because it's exceeding what it is we thought we were gonna. So as we're starting to look into it, we were starting the route of doing an RFP and looking at the potential costs. When we started looking at that, means that we're going to take a break and we're going to see how what our needs are for a while, because as COVID changes and the needs of the schools change, we may need to utilize that money for other items, for staffing, that kind of thing. So we're on hold for right now, just to answer your question.
Okay, so did we get the grant then?
We had a grant.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's just
What's the dollar amount?
1.4 million. 1.4 million over 2024. And from that grant, a lot of what we're doing to try to support schools in getting out of COVID of last year to support them in different ways is how we're starting to utilize that grant.
Is it time sensitive? Does it have to be spent by a certain day?
Typically, if there's a 2024 deadline, sometimes with grants, that's the deadline, but then like a September 30th kind of thing. But then there can be carryover at times. And so money that wasn't spent that year, you can apply for carryover. We don't know yet with ESSER 3 what the rules are going to be around that. So right now, we're just thinking 2024 is when we're gonna be able to have that money by. Utilize it.
Thank you.
I do have one question here.
Yeah, what page?
It's gonna be on page 36 and 39 in the Ursa. Esser.
Yeah, yeah.
Tarps for exterior T-chong. I've never ever heard the word T-chong.
I think that's a misspelling on the
Ancient
purchase
Chinese
order.
for,
Yeah, and those were for eating outside. Expanding a little bit so we can eat outside.
And it's in two different locations, one on page 36 and one on page 37,
Yes.
for the same dollar amount.
So we probably had to buy two, right? And one was under the Easter 2 grant and one was under the Easter 3 grant.
And they're both underneath this or
Oh.
piece 3.
Probably just tarps for exterior teaching. Yeah, we probably bought 2 tarps and they, we
Yeah.
must have bought one and then come back and bought the second one and they billed us.
Are those the tarps that freak storm came through and at the elementary? Is that the ones, Brad, that the rain caused them to fail or settle or whatever?
no, we actually thought through all of the potential issues ahead of time to make sure that that wouldn't happen. And those were what we were using so we could have kids outside in a safer environment for heating while the weather was nice. And then what we did is made an adjustment in the cafeteria. So we have individual desks that are 6 feet apart and we moved to that model instead.
Okay,
So we have the ability to have kids outside when the weather's good or move them in. And right now as weather's getting worse and we can actually spread them out 6 feet apart instead of 3. It's taking extra precautions for health and safety.
okay. And then my last question is MERV 13 filters. Those are for the HVAC system, filtration, air filtration, correct?
Yeah, for the schools where it's the type of filtration system you need for making sure that COVID is cycled out of there.
Okay. How often do we have to replace those? I'm just looking at the cost of the grab.
Every few months. So we're looking at getting, this is one order and we'll probably do another one this year, maybe 2.
Okay.
And use our ESSER 3 money for that.
Okay. I know we've got quite a few units. It's not like it's one filter costs $3,000 some odd dollars, you know. We've got many multiple units that for heating and air circulation. So I realize that the expenditure is spread across all those units. Yeah, you know. So, anyways. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
It prevents us from having to use the general fund, which is the property taxes and the state school fund for items like these with these grants. So saves our, yeah.
Good.
So Brad, I just want to piggyback a little bit on what Fred was talking about that grant money. That what you were talking about for the HVAC at the high school. So that 1.4 million that we have for grant money, it's not all of it be used just for that, correct?
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah. So do you know off the top of your head how much the estimate was to fix the HVAC at the high school? Approximately.
Yeah, I can give you an approximate.
Yeah.
It's 350,000. Approximate.
And how much were you planning on using out of the ESSER grant for that?
For 250? Yeah, 250,000.
So
It exceeded what we were
Yeah.
planning.
understandable. So my question is that something that we could, if this, you know, if we have to use before 2024, can we budget like $50,000 a year for the next 2 years? Not, I know we can't this budget because this budget's already passed, but can we budget 50,000 a year for the next 2 years so that we can use the amount of the ESSER grant, and then we'll kick in another 100,000 so that we can improve that HVAC system over there, because it'll probably pay for itself in a very short period of time with how expensive that is over there. And I'm not asking for a question or asking for an answer, but when we get into the budget process, I think maybe it'd be something that we might want to look into. You know, because we can set that money aside for that, carry it over the next year before 2024 is over. We can use that extra money plus what we have saved up and get the job done. Just a thought. Okay.
Terry, speaking about that, I don't know how many years ago it was, it's only been a couple, Brad, but the heating system, that big old squirrel cage that's there at the elementary school, what, not to put you under the pinch on anything, but what are we doing to remedy that circumstance? I know that that's pretty expensive also.
I don't know that I'll be able to answer your question tonight satisfactorily because we haven't been talking about that issue for a while.
Yeah.
What I do know is that we already invested money into part of the school's heating system a couple of years ago. But I'm not sure that it's addressing the same piece that you are. So I'd have to look at the facilities plan and talk to Rainey to see exactly what that is, but it has not come forward as being a concern that's at the level of some of the other ones that we have at the high school that are more pressing and immediate.
Okay. I realize that the high school is a big deal, and I know that we've got, you know, currently it's working, but I also know that well, I believe, not that I know, I believe it's on its last legs. So I just don't want to lose sight of that in the future, Brad, as well, because that's a pretty important piece, especially that it's generating a lot of heat for the gymnasium where the kids are eating, and in the classes that happen to happen that, you know, physical education during the day, things of that sort. Yeah. So it's just important to keep our eyes on that. I know we haven't talked about it in a long time. So that's, you know, when Mr. Kamalati just kind of flashed in my head that, you know, maybe we probably have that discussion as well, or a little piece of it.
I will share with you that we have a maintenance facilities plan that was updated on our website last week, and it lists you know, all of the issues that we want to address. And what I do is I meet with Raymond you know, periodically. We're meeting this week to talk about that list and our priorities, and then we meet with administrators and talk about how, you know, what are the things that need to happen at this moment. How are we going to fund those? What are the things that we need to plan for? I'll look at that piece to see where it is on the list. But right now, all of our conversations have been at the high school, because there's just a significant need there.
Including on the exterior.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So the construction excise tax we get from the county and city, we have that money is for capital improvements as well. And so we factor those dollars into our needs assessment as well. So what we want to do is look at all the need of the district and be able to prioritize what is critical, what is necessary, and what's down the road. And right now, we have several items that are, they're not critical necessarily, but they're getting there. And we have some that are just need to be worked on right away. And so looking at what kind of dollars we can put to it, Easter 3 is one aspect. Remember last year that we applied for a grant, and we were waiting to hear to see if we get a grant for the high school, and then we didn't get it. So we have to look at applying again. I'm going to have Kathy looking at those grants. If we can get that, then we can maybe take care of some of the other things on the list.
I'd like to note that those grants aren't necessarily that we didn't deserve it, or it wasn't, you know, for a good reason. Probably meant that the money needed to go elsewhere for other things that were more pressing. Is that correct?
It's a competitive grant, and I mean, in terms of there's just a lot of need and there's a limited money, and so you put in your application, and there are other districts that got it.
Yeah. Okay.
If there's no further questions, we'll move on to superintendent update.
Okay.
Chairman, can we have that maintenance update in the board packet for next month?
Would you like the report? I mean, the, what's on the, what we're looking at? or-
Yeah, what,
Yeah, we can do that. We've had it before.
Yeah.
We've had it in the past. So
Yeah.
it's, I think generally we get it once a year, Fred, but it'd be, since it was updated, I think it'd be a good idea. Are you guys all in?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a great idea because that way we can start to share with you kind of what the needs are. And down the road, if we reach something that's critical, it won't be news to you.
Right.
And that we could maybe, but we might have to be in a situation where we're pulling out a contingency for something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll bring that up.
Okay.
Yeah, Fred's never seen one before.
No.
It's important for him to have that.
actually, I've seen them in past board packets,
Yeah.
way a while back.
Okay, well, Chair Kamala, members of the board, good evening. Jefferson Connected has been our tagline for the past 2 years. Care and Connect is the focus all school districts are using based on ODE's guidance. So it's the kind of the our tagline now that we've been using over and over each week when we talk about serving our students. A few weeks ago, I mentioned in my report that we are in the midst of a crisis. The good news is that we are in school, that we haven't had to close down in our first 6 weeks, that the efforts we are making to mitigate the virus and keep our doors open is working. For example, I've mentioned the cafeteria and the changes we made there. In my visits to school each week, I see great examples everywhere, masking, distancing, and the adults working really hard to follow the rules so that we can continue to stay in school. While these measures are not fun, and they add complications, we have developed a rhythm and a routine, and we're now all moving forward with teaching and learning. The not so terrific news is that every district, including Jefferson, is struggling with the lack of substitute teachers, with food supply shortages, with lack of bus drivers. And come the 19th of this month, some districts will be struggling with staffing. While we anticipate having enough bus drivers to cover, we can still use a couple more. So if you know anybody, or if anyone listening knows of anyone who might be interested, please have them talk to Melody because we can sure use you.
Sign-on bonus is good too.
There is a sign-up bonus as well. Lisa Buskirk and I in August discussed stocking up in the event of a food supply chain issue that we were hearing about early on. This is nationwide. And so we talked about ordering enough supplies early and storing them in our freezers so that we would not have a problem later on. There were a couple problems to that. One of the problems was the federal government kind of, or the food distributors kind of got wise to that and rationed so that we couldn't order everything. But the other is that we lost our freezers at the high school, and we had to lose some food because of that. And so we fixed them, and we had to repair the freezers. And now we are in the process again of trying to store up for any issues that might befall us here in ordering food. Lisa is doing an outstanding job of doing that kind of forward thinking and planning. And I'm really impressed with her and her thinking and ability to plan and adjust. Because the impact it's having now is we don't necessarily know, we can write a menu for the month, but we can't necessarily say that that's what the menu is going to be. And so on a day, because of supply shortages, we might have to be creative and make up a different idea for food that day. We're doing okay. Jefferson's doing okay. There are some districts that are really struggling with it. And it's not that we can't struggle in the future. I think that I just want to let you know that some of these are real challenges that all districts are facing, but we're managing it and we have good staff working for us to do that. We anticipate having a full staff come to the 19th. We are looking at the needs related to the impacts of COVID and being essentially away from school for the normal sense for over a year. And we're seeing more behavior issues, as an example, and real need to cover the basics of how just to do school. And for the young ones, like how to hold a pencil, how to sit on a rug, how to attend. Some of the things that you would think were givens aren't when you're been away at home during learning for the last couple of years. We also have working on our substitute issues and getting folks and trying to get folks in-house. Looking to hire a teacher for a year using the ESSER $3 that can go to any school on any day. We're trying to think forward because we are already seeing teachers having to cover for their colleagues who are sick because there's no substitute to come in. In my 24 years in education, I've never seen the stress so high as it is currently. And it's a topic of conversation continually with me and the administrators. And it's not just here. This is an article I read this week from Education Week titled, "Teachers Are Not Okay, Even Though We Need Them to Be." This is a national article that speaks to the conditions and issues facing the school districts across the nation right now. It's an extremely challenging time. So yes, there are added stresses at school, but many of the teachers I hear from describe that it's not the kids. It's not like they have classes, that are too challenging. It's what's going on in their personal lives that's contributing and adding the stress. The whole climate of COVID and doing school is extremely stressful and causing some people in our profession to question whether they should stay in the profession. Added to their own stress is having to plan and teach students on quarantine, for example. So if you have students that have to spend 10 days at home on quarantine, and you have 3 of those kids, that teacher has to plan and prepare and make sure those kids are still getting their education at home, in addition to teaching their class at home or in class in person, which is different from last year, where everybody was off online. I mentioned the classes that colleagues have to cover for their when there's no substitute. That's an ongoing issue on a daily basis. And in talking with edu staff, they are working with us, and we are able to cover a lot of our classes now. And we've been able to make some headway there, but there's a shortage. And after the 19th, everyone has to be vaccinated, and that also is going to play into a shortage as well, right? To some degree, we don't know yet how. But these are some of the things that we're dealing with and thinking about. So I wanted you to know, as the school board, that we are weathering a storm, and that any support you can provide, even if it's a kind word of encouragement, is truly appreciated and felt throughout the system. The district has engaged administrators in finding ways to help relieve the stress and form community at a time when coming together is difficult. We will be developing those plans in the coming weeks. As administrators, we discussed today, in fact, the need to gather monthly for lunch or for dinner to meet unrelated to school, just as a support to one another. You can imagine all those teachers who are stressed in their lives and finding it difficult to come and give it their all, even though they are. The administrators have to hear those complaints and problem solve on a daily basis. And they also have issues going on in their home lives. And so this is a time that we need to come together and find ways to have community, even when having community is a hard thing to do due to the mitigation, the separateness, having to stay 6 feet apart and masked and all that. So these are just some of our challenges. For our students, we started a year being very intentional about Care and Connect. We have care teams that reach out to our students, and we have our student support specialists and counselors reaching out all the time. We have Trillium working hard for us each and every day, supporting the more serious emotional needs. We contract with them. The message JSD wants to send our students, each and every one of them, is that school is a place where they can come and be safe. School is a place where they can be supported. It doesn't matter where they live. It doesn't matter what their nationality or the color of their skin. It doesn't matter what church they go to or if they go to church. It doesn't matter what gender preference they have. All of our students are adjusting to a new school year. Many of them are struggling in life. And we, school district, our home base. Remember when, I don't know, when you were kids, when I was a kid, I used to play tag and stay out till like it got dark. And there was always a home base where I go, you get to find it, right? If you can make it to home base, you're safe. That's what we are. We are that place for our kids. So I wanted to mention this tonight because Jefferson will be spending a lot of our effort on helping kids connect and regulate and feel safe and secure. It's on our lips every day. We continue to have our academic goals, to be sure. And we're not going to stop having academic goals and try to provide the best education we can. But for now, we are all, the adults and the children, in a new place. We are all working hard at getting students to the place where they can focus on school and be successful, however success is defined. I would just, on a separate note, before I end my report, just also say that we engaged a conversation with OSEA on an MOU for going through this time with vaccines, and so we successfully had a negotiation with them or a discussion with them about this and have a signed MOU. So I want you to know that happened recently as well. Terry and Fred were a part of this. Any questions?
You're talking about the difficulties in getting substitutes, and I think I heard on the radio actually that they actually dropped the requirement for the 4-year degree on substitutes. Is that going to help you with getting substitutes?
It is. So in fact, we are already engaging and going to be supporting or looking to support anybody who meets that criteria with TSPC to sponsor them so that they can substitute for us. We do think it will work.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to a couple of things here. Our nutrition program. Brad. I know that there is with regards to what you've been conveying to us tonight, food shortage, and how that looks on having a balanced diet. Is the federal program relaxing at all with the understanding of the circumstances that districts are facing right now with food shortages in order to be able to produce a well-balanced diet for the kids? Has there been anything that's come across the board that way?
Yes. Lisa has applied for waivers,
Okay.
and we've got those. So they make the adjustments, but it gives us some flexibility.
Okay. Board support for the staff. That gives me warm fuzzies on the inside, but over the top of my head, I have this light or a question mark. What does that look like, Brad? How? I've got some ideas floating in my mind, but you know, I know that the governor's mandate does not require board members to be vaccinated. There's as far as I know, there's no talk on religious exception or medical exception with regards to board members, including the administrative staff. I know that years ago, not too far off, too far back, you know, it wasn't without Mr. Kamwadi stepping through the doors of the elementary school and sitting down with the kindergartners, first graders, helping them go through their reading of their arithmetic. I embrace that statement of board support. But what does that look like for us? We need a little help there.
That's a great question. I think it can look at a very minimal way. Anytime you're having a conversation with, you know, a teacher or, you know, or an administrator in the community, whether you see them at church or whether you see them on the street, just to know that just saying thank you goes a long way. And I know you already know that, but I just wanted to voice that and encourage that because it really does make a difference. It doesn't have to be anything like being at the schools and volunteering and helping, because we know that that's not a thing that we can do at the moment. But it's just being aware, I think, of the fact that we're all in this incredible storm. And you know, if there's something that we as a staff do to help support teachers, like if it's food, you know, and you know, it's a card you could send along. It's adding to the food, or it's you know, helping to deliver it, or I mean, there's lots of different ways that we're going to try to see how we can kind of take the air out of the tire a little bit and show some support in these little ways. And so if the board, you know, members are interested in just lending their voice to that, we welcome that. And you know, we can share with you what our plans are, and just, you know, if that's something you feel like you want to do, that's great. I don't want to put any expectations or put a burden. I'm not trying to give you something. What I'm trying to do is just share the idea that we're all in this together, and to know that when they see the board supporting in any way possible, either that's just a kind word, an email, a note, it means a lot.
I appreciate that, Brad. I've got my wheels are turning, but you know, so and I think that Fred's probably is, and Mr. Kamwadi's probably is as well. You know, our staff are very important to us, Brad, and it does not go without saying they're amazing. Yeah. Each and every one that is out there, okay, are amazing at who they are, why they're doing it, what they're doing it for, and the fact that they show up every day and they do it over and beyond what is required of them. We know this to be this, but it's underneath this particular time right now in the state that our state is in, and the mandates that have been laid down, that it is exponentially more difficult now than it ever has been. And this is historic, it's unprecedented, and we want to support in whatever we can do. I would love to do something that says thank you. And I thank you for bringing that up and building the fire underneath that, Brad. So it's very important.
We are just starting the conversation about how we can be more visible. We as in the leaders can be more visible in supporting our staff. And we have a lot of empathy and compassion, but yet, you know, we're all moving so fast and furious, just trying to put everything together. And so how can we do that? And so in my thinking through and talking with administrators on this, I also thought about tonight and about the board and about how, because I think a family is everybody, right? And then how does this family respond to stress? And a healthy family responds to stress, that everybody helps out, and that everybody's there, and everybody knows that there's somebody that's got their back. And so to the extent we can, I mean, there's, talking in a general big sense of how we can support people, then I think I'm just starting the conversation tonight. And as we start to develop our ideas and think through ways to do this, I may reach out and see what you guys, if you want to participate in something.
Yeah, put me on speed dial.
Cool.
You already are.
Thank you, Brad.
Are there any other questions for Brad? Okay, seeing none. We're going to move on to new business. Division 22 assurances.
Division 22, so each year, every school district has state laws that we have to follow. And there's a whole list of them, and they're all fall under Division 22. So that's this. And what this is a reporting template that we need to show, a post on our website starting tomorrow, and to the community to say that we've met compliance with all of these in all these areas. And so the first part is to have that to present it at the board meeting before November 1st. And then this is to be posted, and then I need to send a form to ODE saying that it's not this one, it's something similar though, that says that we have met the compliance. And so that's what this is. This is just, we had all of our administrators look at all the different categories. And we looked at all of our areas to make sure that we were in compliance, and we are. So.
Brad, give me just a second here. Does anybody else have any questions for Brad on this document?
I do actually, and I see on some of these, most of them were in compliance, and the only ones that were not, it looks like they were waived for the 2021 school year. Who are they waived by? Who sets, the people setting these standards?
Yeah, ODE.
Okay, and some of them actually sound pretty important. One of the first ones I looked at was assessment of essential skills. Looks like it was waived, so it's not applicable. But so are we not in compliance with this, or is it just waived? And what's your personal assessment of that? Sounds pretty important to me.
Yeah. So we are in compliance. It was through COVID. There were certain areas that the state relaxed for a year, and so we are in compliance because of that. They're relaxing the
Would we be in compliance if they wouldn't have? I just want your personal opinion.
Well, no. So, for example, there's instructional hours. We would not be, because we needed to structure our instructional hours differently since kids were at home, and so there are certain things like that where, just being not in school, we wouldn't be able to meet, which is why they need the rate. Kindergarten assessment, for example, there wasn't a kindergarten to assess, so they needed to waive that. And now we're back in school, so we'll assess.
Thank you.
Brad, in looking through the Division 22 standards, the one that I keyed in on was the diploma requirements. 581-020-2000 diploma requirements, which is the second one down from the top of the list. Okay, page 41. So clicking on the link, there's some historical requirements. The old never left, the new was implemented, and the last one that was in there on graduation requirements was I believe, 2009 through 2011. And there's nothing beyond that, it's quite a read, number one. But there was nothing beyond that has, from the standpoint of mandating the credits that are required for graduation. And since then, Governor Brown has implemented, and I don't have the correct verbiage and wording on this, but apparently all students will receive a diploma regardless of them and their abilities to have proficiency in reading, writing, and arithmetic. So when it comes to these standards, and this comes down through ODE, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, ODE is attached to Kate Brown.
Mhm.
When are we going to be seeing something on that? On the changes in diploma requirements? You know, they ask us to make sure that we're in compliance with the standards, but yet they change things up above where the gold man sits on the marble structure, and it puts us behind the 8 ball without making things in writing. So there's another reason for a resolution potentially from our school board, but you know, we've got to have guidance that's consistent, and we have to have up-to-date guidance in order to be successful. So I see this as a valuable document, but I also see it as something I would throw into the trash today because it is not up to date. So I applaud you and I commend you for making sure that we are in compliance. But I don't know how we can be in compliance when it's not written down. So that's just a statement from this board member.
So my question on that is, Brad, these are minimum requirements, correct? I mean, you know, if we go above and beyond, because I know that the credit requirement to graduate is one thing, and I think Jefferson's a little bit above what the state requires, correct? So these are minimum requirements that ODE is, and our governor has set aside for us. Do you feel, and let's just take the one that Tracy said, the diploma requirements, that we are above and beyond what they're requiring?
Do I feel we're above and beyond?
You know,
I mean, I think that we're definitely meeting the requirements and then some.
and then some. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that Mrs. Notwithstanding, you know, all due respect to you, Brad, but Mrs. Emmerich in the past has brought information with regards to credit requirements in the past, and be nice to have some additional information on where are we at and what is our credit requirement at this point. You know, what are we looking at here in the 21-22 year for graduation requirements? I don't like not knowing.
Yeah, we can update each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amber.
I just wanted to point out, can you see that in your policy packet you have right there on your desk for our meeting on the 28th?
Yeah.
There's a new policy for graduation requirements and graduation exercise, a few things to go over for that, so you'll be able to see that right away.
Okay. Thank you, Amber, very much.
Yeah.
Any more questions on Division 22? If not, I'll entertain a motion, because we do have to pass this as a board to be compliant with what ODA requires us. There's a sample motion on page 3 of our act, if somebody wants to do that.
what I said.
Do you want to say?
Please.
I move to accept the ODE Division 22 assurances as presented for school year 2020 to 2021.
I'll second that motion. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any other further discussion?
Statement. When the vote comes through, I'm not pleased with the Division 22 assurances as they're written and delivered to our school district to make sure that the assurances are there and that they're being performed and done without it actually being written down as a living document. That's all I have to say.
Okay, duly stated. Okay, with that, we'll call for the vote. Fred?
Aye.
Tracy?
I
Chair votes aye. Okay, the B on new businesses, I want to talk a little bit about this Zoom meeting that we're having right now as a board meeting. And I know that, you know, we had a parent outside just earlier that would love to came in and spoke. I just want, you know, I made this decision as board chair to have, because of the COVID outbreak that's going on, to have this meeting where we met and the public and our administrators, they could meet via the Zoom meeting. And I just kind of wanted to know what you guys thought about that. So I would like your opinion. You know, the COVID occurrence rate has been on its way down. I just like to know what you guys think about that.
Man, you want to go first?
No.
I personally don't have a problem being amongst other individuals in the community. Whether that's 3 feet away, whether that's 10 feet away, it makes no difference to me. I believe that a lot of people are being forced to live in fear. And fear is not healthy. Again, my opinion. I believe that COVID is real. I don't believe that it's fake. But at some point in time, we've got to get on with our lives. And for those that, I think it should be optional, is my opinion, as to whether somebody participates on Zoom. I have to respect that. Or if they feel that they want to be a part of the meeting in its entirety and be present for that, I have no problem. Our teachers are amongst anywhere from 25 to 30 students on any given day. Custodians. I'm not here to say that the vaccine keeps you from getting COVID or none of that stuff. I believe that it's a personal opinion or a personal preference. And I'm not opposed to other individuals being in this arena in my presence.
Thank you. Brad, anything you want to say about this?
Well, I think it took me about maybe less than 10 minutes after I got the email and seen this decision to give the chairman a call to voice my displeasure with this. And I think it's kind of ironic that we're drafting a resolution to send to the governor that basically says that we don't agree with someone taking our freedom of choice and how we do business. We don't agree that that's being taken away from us. Now, I'm paraphrasing. I haven't seen the actual document itself, but that's the gist of it. And then we turn right around and we tell the community and everybody except who's in this room that you don't have the freedom of choice to show up to this meeting or not. It's just like Mr. Rose said, I fully support people that don't, if they don't feel it's safe, I fully support their decision their freedom to make that choice to attend virtually. But to take it away from the community members, the ones that voted all three of us and the other two board members into office. And as I found out, quite a few of the people that didn't vote for me were frustrated with this as well. And I'd actually just like to read two comments that were posted on the Facebook and let me assure the community that these two comments weren't our intention, but this is how it was taken. And one of the comments, and I'm not going to say who made them, and everybody can get on Facebook and look for themselves if they want, but one of the members, the community members, said by holding a virtual meeting, it makes it easier for the board to shut down anyone's comment. Another one of the comments, watch here. Interesting that every time the community decides to congregate at a board meeting, it's all of a sudden made virtual. COVID sure is a great excuse for keeping the community members out of board meetings. So I'd like to reiterate 100% that I fully support everyone's choice to come here and attend in person, and I fully support everyone's choice on attending this virtually. And that choice and that freedom should not be taken away from anybody. We're already, we have a mandate in place, and we have to obey that. And if we don't, consequences are severe, or insurance, and I get all that, but to go above and beyond that mandate is completely unacceptable to me.
Brad, would you like to speak on this? You don't have to, you don't want to.
I hear the frustration. I don't disagree with the frustration. I too want people here. And I think that the way the virus spreads in a room like this, it would take very little time. If we're here for 2 hours, 3 hours, it would take very little time for everybody here to be exposed. Some are vaccinated, some are not. So the challenge with COVID all along has been the same issue of trying to walk the path between individual feeling of rights or being able to express themselves, attend to a meeting, with the prevailing sense of trying to care for safety and health of all people. And there's different opinions along those lines, and there's a continuum of beliefs. And so I think from a very practical standpoint, when you put all of my administrators in here and my staff, that if we have folks that aren't vaccinated and they get exposed, they have to be gone for 10 days at home and on quarantine, which impacts our ability to do our business. And if our administrators are all in the same room and they get exposed or perhaps even get sick, then they're not in the schools to run them. So I think where I agree that people need a voice, and they do have a voice, that Amber's going to make sure that they have a chance to participate virtually. I know it's not ideal. And our hope is, as this virus comes down, we're sort of in the peak of the storm, but you're seeing 5 weeks of decline. And as we're in a decline, the hope is that we can come back and be in the same room. Whether that's a bigger room, but whether that's we hold the meetings in a gym or and spread people out or what, we can think about that and be creative. But I think those are some of maybe another way of thinking about it in terms of just, if it were to happen, it could really halt the district in being able to lead and take care of if we put all the leaders in the same place. So, I think in the short term, as we are in the middle of something that's spreading very quickly and rapidly, a measure of caution for the health and safety of staff is something to consider.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Do the staff and the administrators have the option of attending this meeting virtually? If they want, or
Yeah, I mean, we could make it so that they can be virtually, and that's where they are tonight. They're virtual.
I didn't know if that's always been an option for them or if it was mandated tonight that it hasn't been an option.
No, I mean,
Can it be one?
typically, if we're here, they're, and that's just been the expectation, that's the case. Doesn't have to be, it's just the way it's part of our norms of what we've done in the past.
We're not normal types.
Correct, and that's why I'm saying it doesn't have to be that way.
Thank you.
I guess a greater question, Brad, apologize. Greater question to you is what does Chase say?
I don't know. I don't think PACE has come out, so at least I haven't seen that, with a recommendation. I think what the challenge has been over the last year and a half, we've been virtual as board members, our board meetings have been virtual. And then we came back to, we can all come back, and then ODE said, you have to limit. And so, because, things have changed, and so we go back to that. And now we're to that place now again, where it's kind of up to us to decide what we want to do, if we want to meet in person or not. And we're in the middle of this Delta variant that is rapidly spreading everywhere. So hopefully it's coming down, and so that's why we're taking an extra measure of precaution for health and safety.
Well, I think question about PACE needs to get answered before decision can be made. The topic of discussion tonight, this is not an action item, correct?
No, this is a decision that I made. And I'm just looking for input because, Fred brought it up to me, and then I just had a parent out there that really wanted to voice their opinion. And so I want to talk about it, I'm going to make a decision one way or the other on what to do, and I just want some insight.
Well, I know we're independent governing board of directors here, not related to SIO, not related to Cascade, not related to state, and so on and so forth. I don't know what they are doing themselves. All I know is, Amber, you may be able to, I saw your hand go up.
Well, just again, in the policy packet that you have, that's another policy that's updated, and as you can see, OSBA has provided some additional information in regards to the board meetings and how they now have to be provided via online this way per law. And so that's what I've been putting inside of the board packet. It's HB 2560, I think is what it's called, but that just recently went into law last year during COVID. And so since July of 2020, we've been operating that way. And so OSBA just came out with an update to our policy that we'll be going over on our policy committee meeting. And as you see, I've kind of made it bigger there so that you can see they have some other information in regards to the public and then being able to attend the meeting virtually, and it's just more information.
But that just says that they're able to, not that they have to.
Yes.
Tracy, if I could respond to you again to Pace. What they have said is that they will support the school district if they are following the guidance. If they do not follow the guidance, then they will not support the school district. And so you have to look at, each piece of that. And when it comes to the board meetings, where we are today, I think, is in a place where, we can do it. We can either meet in person or not. Where before it was to have to follow the guidelines and not do that. Now ODE's relaxed that piece. So my guess, and I can, I'll confirm it with them, but my guess is that they wouldn't have a position either way for board meeting attendance because, if we were to be sued because of someone contracting it here, I don't think there's anything that says that we should not be, or we cannot be meeting in person. That said, the only thing that I would question them about or get their opinion on is to what extent there's an intent for following the laws and the rules, regulations that is considered as a factor. So if I say we're not going to wear masks in school, but nobody enforces that, then when there's a lawsuit, they say all right, so maybe the district had a thing about masks technically, but they didn't have the spirit attached to it to try to really enforce that. And then that would make us liable. And so with something like this, it's just how seriously are we taking the precautions of keeping people safe? And so I think that factors in, but I'll be happy to reach out to Pace and get their thoughts and see if there's anything else.
I'm in support of Mr. Sotomayor's statement about our resolution. I'm really kind of, I appreciate people's thoughts and their words, but I don't come here to sit in a chair to deal with school board business and hide from any negativity that's out in the district. I want to assure my constituents that I have no problem with meeting with them publicly. I have nothing to hide. I don't know that there's too much out there in the community that it's overwhelming to discuss with the school board and what we're doing. But I certainly want to give everybody an opportunity to speak. If it's on your heart, you need to be able to speak it and to keep them from being able to do that. I know that virtually, that we're going to continue in this manner. Number one, the first thing that needs to happen is that each one of the board meeting members needs to have a microphone at their desk because you can't hardly hear. And I've got a pretty good computer system, pretty good speakers. And when I was on virtually last month, I had a very hard time speaking or hearing and understanding. So whatever course of action that we take, we've got to take into consideration the health and wellness of our community in how we do business. And we cannot hamstring anybody. We need to be able to give them the ability to say yes or no on whether they want to attend personally or whether they want to attend virtually. Of course, following all distancing, masks, gotta do it everywhere else. So board chair made the decision not to on this particular one. And I'm fine with this decision on this particular meeting. I have no ill will towards his decision, or any other board chair that would make such a decision, for one particular meeting. But, we got to come to some common ground at some point in time, somehow, some way, in order to continue to do business in a well and healthy environment for our community. That's my opinion.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
It is kind of new grounds that we're standing on, and we do need to be authentic in what we're doing here as a board, and I can see where community would think we're kind of locking them out in the sense of what those statements were on there. And then I can see where our staff might feel a little bit uncomfortable, with people coming in here, and as Brad pointed out, it spread. And next thing you know, we had every one of our administrators sick. I wouldn't even want to imagine that. But, and then Brad brought up one thing about maybe in the gym. Well, yeah, that's a big area. If you had microphones in there and everything, maybe we could do it in the gym or in an elementary gym or someplace where it's a bigger room that has good filtration on it. That might be something to think about, but I appreciate everything you guys said, and I will take that all into consideration. And I'll try and make that decision very soon so that people will know what to do.
Good. Thanks, Terry.
Yeah. I just wanted some, feedback from you guys and from staff. Okay, so with no more business coming in, the old business, the local control resolution is going to be bumped down to the November meeting. We're going to table it, and we are going to go to comments from the audience. I know that we have one person that has something he'd like to say, and he's on the radio, or not the radio, the telephone. And it's Mr. John Peterson. Can you hear me, John?
Let him know to unmute his computer, Terry.
Hey, John, can you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, can you go ahead and I'm just going to make a comment beforehand, so anybody that wants to speak kind of adheres to this. And
Okay.
And this public participation is a time for the board to listen, not a time for in-depth discussion or to respond to questions, as the board needs adequate time to proceed or to process the information received to ensure proper steps are taken going forward. We may ask direct questions to administrative staff to respond to after the meeting. Some of the things that we ask for the public is that you allow your comments to be limited to 3 minutes. And if you have written material, you can also provide a copy of that to the board secretary in person or via email. And I know, John, you have that, your speech kind of written out. If you want to send that to Amber.
Sure.
Jefferson.k12.org.us. We'd sure like to see that. And
Okay.
with that, I'll let you go ahead and respond or your comment.
All right. My middle school student told me that over the school PA system, an announcement for a LGBTQ club was announced with meeting times. I contacted the superintendent office and asked if the superintendent or principal would call me back. I did get a call back from the principal and the superintendent the following day. The principal told me that this club was no different than the chess club, and by not allowing it, like any other club, they could be sued. For your information, you can be sued for sexual exploitation of children, which is illegal. The chess club has nothing to do with sexual orientation or attraction, and to compare it to that is a clear attack on the integrity and foundation of families. But this is the agenda of the far left, and we could go as far as calling this the Saul Alinsky blueprints. I spoke to the superintendent and expressed my concerns about children in a LGBTQ club, and he had the same reaction. It's no different than a chess club. What's next, the kindergarten or the elementary school? Have you no boundaries at all for a child? The superintendent mentioned mental health of the children, and I would have to agree. You just push these children into adult sexual topics that will cause mental issues for them. This is now supervised by a counselor who should be removed from the middle school, as I would consider this endangerment of a child. The superintendent gave an example of how he relates this group to a situation where a father left his family and the child had behavior issues in school. I understand that would be tough on a kid, but what does that have to do with sexual adult topics and behavior in a club on public property for 11, 12, and 13-year-old kids? These children are not 18 years of age, and in my opinion, this just fans the flames of confusion, embraces sexual activity in young children. Children's bodies are not even developed into adults, but you're allowing for adult topics. I wouldn't want any counselor meeting with my child to discuss any sexual subjects or feelings. Remember when we were allowed to just be children in school. I'm concerned that any parent would sign off on a child to be discussing adult topics either, and would be questioning you exactly the same way. I get the principal and the superintendent have an agenda, and it's clear it's exploiting children with a far left agenda. It undermines the foundation of the family, which is the intent. This is the decay of our public school system, and the children are not safe. I'm sorely principal and the superintendent for allowing this and their intentions on adult topics with a child. As if a club about one sex or sexual preference could be compared to a chess club, book club, or any other club is ridiculous for this age group. These are just kids. Your job is just to educate children, not indoctrinate children. The principal and the superintendent have failed us on this one. Your job is to provide a safe environment for all children, regardless of who they are, and not alienate or give preferential treatment. Just as a child shouldn't know a teacher's political preference, you should not permit or push this political agenda. I ask you to do your job and provide the education and a safe environment for all children and stop exploiting children. I know and respect people who identify as gay or lesbian. Do not make mistake my concern for any phobia against the community. My concern is sexual exploitation of children. School should be on a classical education only. What we have seen is destruction of public schools, and is why parents opt for home school or private school, while still having to pay taxes for bad public results like this. Ladies and gentlemen of the school board, I appreciate your time and would ask you to please remember we are talking about kids, most of whom have not hit puberty or even could be considered a teenager, yet an adult of age 18. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Amber, are there any other? I know that there's a couple comments that were, I can't read those. Don't get up there and read. I can't figure out. Okay, okay, so these comments came from Shannon A. And they are, when will my child be able to attend school without a mask? They are healthy children, and COVID isn't affecting our kids nearly like it is an adult. More teachers will be leaving as they should never be forced to be vaccinated. This is unconstitutional and absolutely shameful. So everyone will get a diploma as a participation trophy. This is out of control. Mandate is not a law. We can't continue to be living in fear.
Eric just has his hand up.
He has a what?
Here's his hand up, he wants to
Okay.
ask a question.
Okay, Eric, you have a question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Because there's not enough time for you guys to process Mr. Peterson's phone call, I would just like to ask that an opportunity for more of an educational conversation happen. I respect his opinion, but the reality is that our kids are not little kids anymore, but they have entered puberty. There is interest, there is curiosities, and one of the biggest problems we're seeing as parents today is our kids are not being educated on the entire system of sex education. It's mostly the old school, STD, that and abstinence conversation. The reality is that things are different now. We live in a world where there are more options, and so because this is not the right time, I would actually like to, first of all, applaud Brad and Mr. Jancy for your responses and handling it so quickly. As a community member, we appreciate that, a quick response. Mr. Peterson, I absolutely respect your stance. I disagree with it, but I respect your stance, and just feel like maybe some future educational conversation should happen so that our kids do feel safe. As a father of a daughter in a different school who is LGBTQ, who did actually suffer some serious mental problems because she was shunned by people who just simply weren't informed. This is our reality today, folks, and I would just like to encourage and ask that an opportunity for conversation to happen.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you, Eric. Are there any more comments? Okay. There are.
There were just general comments, like I can't hear, or,
Oh. Okay, so I'm gonna read the one, you already responded to it, but I'll read it from Mara Jones. She goes, "Hi, can I ask if there will be another chance for the children or families who receive the first dose of the vaccine before school starts to take the second dose in school again?" I think that's a good question to ask, Brad. I'm going to ask that right now. We did have that on that open night where we had the hospital. Are we going to allow, is there going to be a chance for a second dose on that?
So we didn't set up a second dose with them to come here, but they were to make arrangements with
The individuals?
the individuals to go to the hospital to get the second dose.
Okay,
So they should go and seek out that.
okay. Well, I hope that answered your question. Okay. With that, are there any others up there, Amber, that you see?
it looks like the City Hightower raised their hand.
Cindy, raise your hand. Cindy, do you want to talk?
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Okay.
My question is, Brad, have you addressed the issue with those who have had COVID and have the antibodies or immunity now to the COVID virus?
Cindy, this isn't really a time to ask questions of the superintendent, but it's a time for the audience to voice. And if you would like to call him, he can probably give you an answer for that.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more? Well, we're going to comment. You want to say it during your comment?
Internet's not working. Not seeing anything.
Okay, well, I want to thank all those who were in the audience via Zoom for your comments. Really appreciate that. So now we're going to go to board comments and go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I just had a couple things, and both of these are for the administrators that can't be here today. And one of them was just a thought or an idea. I was reading through the student leadership in the high school class portion there. And I just want to throw out the idea, and again, I think it's up to the admin, but about having some sort of student representation here on the board, attending these board meetings and maybe even voting along right with us. Obviously, the elected board would have the counting votes, but I know some other school districts do this with some success, and I'd like to throw it out there to the superintendent and the admin. And then, so here's the other thing, I think it's even more important. I've seen a lot of reports from the administration, and there's a ton of acronyms out there on how well we're doing in this test and that test, but I think I got a pretty important test result for you guys. I take Talbot Road to work sometimes, and I noticed since I've been on the school board, I pay a little more attention to the school grounds and the kids coming out of school. And I can't help but notice that after school coming out, I see a bunch of happy faces, and you know, you guys might not get to see that much with all the masks on and everything, but on their way home, I just see a lot of kids that are smiling. And that's from the grade school, middle school, and the high school. And so I was just kind of thinking about that night, and then I thought to myself, well, maybe it's because they're getting out of school. Maybe that's why they're happy. So I actually timed my day into work the next day. You know, I usually try and avoid the school buses, but I made sure to hit the school bus traffic on my way into work. And I saw the same thing going into school. And I think that's a pretty good measure on how our teachers and the staff and the principals on how everybody's doing. So, and I don't know how you do it. I don't know if I'm up for the task that you're doing, but that's my report card tonight for you guys and gals. Whatever you're doing, kids are happy to go to school. So that's all I have.
Tracy?
I kind of touched bases on it earlier. I think it's important for the board to evaluate our meeting environment. How we're able to communicate, and how the general public via Zoom at this point in time looks like it's going to be around for a while. And again, I want to convey that even utilizing my Beats headset to attend meetings, and those are pretty good headsets, you can't hardly hear, can't understand. The recorded minutes, I don't have a problem with. We've got a little recorder up there that does a pretty good job, I think. Could it be better? Probably. Amber knows that more so than any of us, probably, because she's the one that has to disseminate that and go through that and generate the minutes and all that stuff. But we need, I think it's important that we look at improving our communications capabilities here within the boardroom. is an observation, and this is based on my last month's meeting, attending via Zoom. That's all I have to say.
I've been thinking a little bit about, I always like to say something encouraging at the end of every meeting, because I know that we're in a time in our life and a period of this nation and our country that there's a lot of hard things going on, and we don't always understand. But I just want the staff to know, and I want the board to know that there's nothing greater in life than creating a legacy. And I think what our staff is doing right now is a good sign of what a legacy is supposed to be. A lot of times we never see the result of the legacy because we move on or we pass away. But what you guys are doing right here with educating children is just a phenomenal legacy that we might not ever see again, because you guys care, because our staff cares. And you know, I think my goal in life is to leave a legacy for my children and the community that I live in. And I think as teachers and as administrators and as workers in the school, you guys are doing the very same thing. And you might not see the rewards every day, but I think Fred gave a pretty good example of it, because I too follow school buses in the morning and in the afternoon. And to see those kids with smiles, I mean, it puts joy on my face. So they're not always getting that from all their friends either. They're getting it because they were in school together with parents that care. And I think Brad hit a statement earlier about a safe place. And this school is a safe place for a lot of the children in today's world. And I think we need to continue on being that. Do I agree with everything that's going on in the schools? Not necessarily. But I do know that there's not one person in this school that doesn't care about the job that they're doing. And I just want to thank each and every one of you again for what you do, and carry on and keep doing the best job that you can. And we'll try and support you the best way we can. Thank you, each and every one of you. With that, we're going to end this meeting at 8:13.
We were done.
Take it off.
What?
It's a front of the show.
Yeah.
Well, and that's